Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All those that are finished with their salat are kindly requested to come forward. Inshallah, this program will be beneficial for all of us. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. ونشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. قال الله عز وجل: ولو كنت فظا غليظ القلب لانفضوا من حولك فاعف عنهم واستغفر لهم وشاورهم في الأمر فإذا عزمت فتوكل على الله إن الله يحب المتوكلين. وعن عائشة رضي الله عنها عن عبد الله الجللي رضي الله عنه قال: سمعت عائشة رضي الله عنها وسألتها عن خلق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت: لم يكن فاحشا ولا متفحشا ولا سخابا في الأسواق ولا يجزي بالسيئة السيئة ولكن يعفو ويصفح أو قال يعفو ويغفر. رواه الترمذي. Respected honorable brothers, respected listeners, in today's topic of discussion is a very important topic related to our characters and the characters of Sahaba radiallahu majma'een. And obviously we may have heard many stories from time to time, but putting into perspective as a reminder for every one of us, I just wanted to share an analogy with you, a very practical analogy. We need to understand, before I can share the analogy and give you an example, what we need to understand is that every human being by nature has two qualities in him. One is akhlaq radila and one is akhlaq fadila. Akhlaq al-fadila, those are praiseworthy characters. Praiseworthy characters means, the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being humble, being, obedient. These are those sifats, praiseworthy sifat that that the human being are supposed to have, and we need to have them. And then you get the blameworthy characters, which are known to be akhlaqul radila, those characters which a person is supposed to weed out and take them out. And they're basically known as akhlaqul radila. For example, the love of the world, love for high status and fame, and enmity, hasad, jealous, have all these characters here, pride, arrogant, enmity, all these things here are the bad things. And these are those blameworthy characters which a person is supposed to take them out. So now when you understand these two things here, there's some things that we need and certain things that we need to take out. By nature, we need to work towards getting the first type of characters, the good ones, the praiseworthy ones. And by default, we get which characters? Akhlaq radila. You don't need to ask for them, they just come into you. So now let's take an example. I have a problem with my backyard, so I always have this example in my mind. It's always in my mind. You have a garden, or you have a potential garden. You have a nice yard, a backyard, and it's got nothing in it. The only thing it's growing in there, it's weeds. There's all kinds of weeds. There's nothing but weeds inside your backyard. All kinds of weeds. And it doesn't take long for the weeds to grow. I have a backyard. One day I put so much effort behind. I uprooted all the weeds from the bottom. After 2 days, 3 days, it rained and it came back again. So they grow back again. A friend of mine, he came and he said that some weeds are such that they are able to attract other weeds just by airborne. So some what do you call it? If it flies in the air and it attracts, and as a result of that, it produces more weed. So it doesn't take long. So us, human being, within ourselves, we have all these blameworthy characters: hate, malice, We, have with jealousy, extreme aspiration for this world, meaning having high fame, lots of money, hubbul mal, love for this wealth, etc. We all have this. And this is embedded by nature. You don't need to work towards it. And many a times, you just get attracted to it by what? You look at people. You look at billboards. You're looking at advertisement. And it just comes into you. Mercedes, BMW, the latest cars that are out there. It doesn't take long for you to get them into your body. They just come and they fill your heart. So your heart, if you look at the picture of your heart is full of what? All these bad characters, blameworthy characters, and it looks so bad, that if you were to look at your backyard, it's only weeds, and sometimes, those weeds are dangerous because they have thorns in them. And when they have thorns in them, when you try plucking them out, removing them, obviously, they hurt you, they prick you. And as a result of that, you're going through more pain. And it just doesn't look good at all. And if it's in the front, it looks even bad. If it's in the front, it looks even bad. Now the problem is, that your backyard or your front yard, it may look bad. But if you have that same weed within yourselves, or within yourself, it's even worse than that. Because it is through that you portray yourself and you present yourself to the people and the community and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's where the problem comes. So it's not just that people look at you, but it's the way you conduct yourself and you present yourself. So till you don't work on those akhlaq radila and you don't weed them out, you don't clean them up properly and replace them with praiseworthy characters, you are not a good person in society at all. Now, having this in mind, Sahaba radiallahu majma'in, they were exactly the same. When they first came, before Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they had all kinds of blameworthy characters in them. They used to steal, they used to rob, they used to beat people up, they used to kill people. They had malice, they had hate, jealousy. Everything that you can think of was in them. Everything was there. But it was a companionship of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As a result of that, everything was cleansed and was purified, and all the good characters, praiseworthy characters were put into them. And as a result of that, when these characters came, and then after that, dunya came to them, wealth came to them, children came to them, wives came to them. Every good that you can think about, that what we aspire, came to them. But it did not change their condition. It did not change the condition. So my brothers, this is what we need to keep in mind. That we get influenced. Just today I was reading, and I had mentioned this in Friday, Jummah program also, that, for example, wedding time. When brother told me that I didn't know this, I just found out later that one of the biggest debt that people look forward to, fulfilling is wedding debts. Now, why would you incur wedding debts? Unnecessary debts. So today I was reading Global Mill that they actually have wedding planners, and what do? They actually plan your wedding, how you can structure your wedding. And where does all these ideas come from? They come from all the movies. So South Asian, basically Bollywood in that, so there was a whole article in it. So they watch the movies, and because of that they get ideas, so they want to plan their weddings out. So just to pay, for you to get your wedding planned, how much money you're paying? $1,000 to $10,000. So that person is making that much money on each wedding, from $1,000 to $10,000. Now, if that person is making money just to plan your wedding, just imagine all the stuff that's going to go into your wedding, how much money you're spending in that. So, look at this here. Now, why is this coming to you? You constantly watch your movies. You're so, I remember, I believe a year ago, 2 years ago, when all those artists or celebrities that came from Bombay, people went crazy. And I'm talking about the people, who are closely attached to the masjid, even they went crazy. And, they purchased tickets, which was for $500 or something for Rogers Center, and they went there just to see, all the celebrities there because, why? It was deeply because through your eyes, all the weeds had come into your heart, and the roots were so deep, that regardless of how much salat you prayed, all that spray, weed spray, your weed sprays don't work. You know that, right? What works? One brother, I have a neighbor who's Italian, I said that I read on internet that you can put vinegar and salt, soap and vinegar to kill weed. He said that even if you put that, it won't work. So I'm like, what works? He said, just put, gas. Petrol. The petrol will work. I'm like, wow. Putting the petrol, that's dangerous. It can catch fire. But nevertheless, so the point I'm making here is that when we have these weeds deeply grown into our heart, what happens is that it just takes one click, one spark, and immediately, we're attached to it, we're attracted to it. So the brothers that were praying salat, they were spraying weed all the time onto their hearts. Ramadan used to come, they used to spray weed, weed killers upon their hearts to get rid of that. It only took one invitation from the celebrities, and they didn't even say it, it was just their advertisement, and they were already in that, in watching them and being there, and they were just dying to even touch their hands. That's how they become crazy over things like that. So why does this happen, my brothers? This only happens simply because those weeds, we may spray them. Your salat, fasting, Ramadan is coming, so we may spray them, but they're not uprooted. And when they are not uprooted and when they are not replaced with the praiseworthy characters, they will grow again. Alhamdulillah, month of Ramadan is coming up. When the month of Ramadan comes, as a result of that, the blessed rain, all will come onto your heart, and as a result of that, everything will get suppressed. So the weeds are there. If you don't uproot them, they're going to stay there. But the moment the month of Ramadan is gone, slowly, they're up again. It just needs, the Ramadan rain is gone, and the sunshine comes back. What is the sunshine? The heat of sins. It comes back, it attracts your heart, and boom, goes all that again. And it's back to normal again, and you start all over again. So my brothers, this is something that we need to keep in mind, that we need to uproot all these characters, all these bad characters that we have, and we need to become the best of mankind. And the only way we can do this is by replacing the good characters. And how do you do that? Simply by companionship, which is the key thing, and that is what Sahaba radiallahu majma'in got. Now, obviously, our topic of discussion was Sahaba radiallahu majma'in and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They're good characters. We need to discuss this, but I just told you, I just gave you the answer. The only way we can get that is if you work towards it, how the Sahaba radiallahu majma'in did. When they worked on it, we will see the result of how they were. So what I'm going to mention today to you right now and present to you is basically the result of what they became when they trained themselves and when they stayed in the right company, what the results were. Now let's begin with the ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ. O Prophet of Allah, if you were harsh, غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ, and if you were hard-hearted, your heart was so hard, لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. These Sahabas, they will run away from you. They will not be able to stay with you. They will flee from you. But فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It is through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we made you compassionate and we made you lenient towards them. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. It was through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we made you lenient. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Now what Rasulullah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, O Prophet of Allah, if you have a Bedouin coming, you may have seen Bedouins coming, if they put that blanket upon your neck and grab you from the back, you know how bad that is? Just imagine you're walking and someone comes and put a blanket and pulls you like that. And as a result of that, you see marks on your neck. Can anyone in this congregation tolerate that? I don't think anyone can. So that was done to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam overlooked. I will share some wonderful stories, but how they were trained that way. Prophet sallallahu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, fa'fu, forgive them. And not only forgive them, fa'fu anhu, all the shortcomings and all these things that they don't know about and they're making continuous mistakes, wastaghfir lahum. Why don't you seek forgiveness for them? You forgive them, O Prophet of Allah, but before you Lord, your Lord, your Rabb, you seek forgiveness for them. Wastaghfir lahum. And not only that, they're your companions. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. In relation to the matters of this world, make mashwara with them, consult with them. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And when you have come to some resolution, and then put trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we learn from this, the fundamental principle is that we need to have praiseworthy characters. When you have these praiseworthy characters, our hearts will become soft. As a result of that, we will become best of human beings, regardless where we go. I just to give you an idea, as I'm discussing this, a thought comes to my mind. that if you were to do, I don't know when you do Islamic history, I don't know what kind of history you study, but if you were to study how Islam really spread. Now, some places, obviously there was confrontation, but majority of the places there was no confrontation. But leave that to aside. Go to all those, Indian Ocean. I'm talking about all those areas which is attached to the sea and to the ocean. Indonesia, Sri Lanka, China, all these places. Sahaba radiallahu majma'in, they were there, and their graves are still there today. Now, if you look at all that area, there's plenty, millions of Muslims in China alone. Indonesia has what's the population of Indonesia? Tell me. 98%? 95%? Isn't it? Now, if you look at these countries here, there was no confrontation. Sahaba radiallahu majma'in, no armies were dispatched. They went only on the basis of what? Trade. They went for trade purposes. And when they went there, they were so honest. Their characters were so, they were shining, and they were so, they were so bright and shining that, even the other peoples were able to attract onto it. And as a result of that, it was through their characters they were changed. And the whole country became Muslim. And even till today, today's record shows that, majority, 90%, 95% of Indonesia is Muslim. Look at Sri Lanka. Look at, China. Obviously, China has communism there. But, look at all these different places here. If you do study, you will find that these were the same places. Sahaba never had any confrontation. There was no armies that were dispatched to these places. It was only on the basis of selling goods, trading goods. They went there. And as a result of that, their characters were such. It was so great. Today when you want to deal, I want to buy a car with this person here. Abdullah, what do you say? Yusuf, what do you say? You got to think twice. We have lost trust with our people so much that, this guy here, he's selling cars. What do you say about him? Is he a nice person? You think he's going to rip me off? What is it? We have to do like all these references. Now we have references, isn't it? For any product, any company, any Hajj company, whatever, you have to go through references. Why do we have all this? Because we have lost the respect and trust on the face of the person. Therefore, we have to go through other people and do research and look for references. But Sahaba radiallahu majma'in, they were walking with such noble characters that they didn't need anything. They did not need any references. They just went trading and trading after trading, and they just did not trade. But they were converting people towards Islam, and people were accepting Islam. And look at today, so many Muslims in that area, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines. You look at China and all these places here. No confrontation took place. No armies were dispatched to these places. India, yes, there was an army, Muhammad ibn Qasim, he went there. But these places, no one went there. And look at that. Nevertheless, speaking about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is mentioned, Aisha radiallahu anha was asked, "Oh Aisha, mother of believers, tell us the characters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." She says, "Lam yakun fahishan." He was not vulgar. "Wala mutafahishan." He was not rude. "Wala sakhaban fil aswaki." And he did not make, this fits our young ones and for us so much. And he did not, he was not, rude on the streets, shouting loud and screaming. He was not. He was a very calm, gentle person. We should be able, when we walk. And the reason why we're sharing these characters today, and I want every one of you to understand this properly, my beloved youngsters. You will not go to John, you will not go to Josh, Robert, or Frank, or whoever, and tell them that, I pray salat whole night. And I fast. Ramadan is coming. Do you fast, John? I fast from, morning to evening. Dawn to dusk, I fast. It doesn't mean anything to him. I pray salat at night. I wake up at night and pray. I worship a lot. It will not mean anything to him. What will mean to him is how you articulate yourself, how you present yourself, how you deal yourself, how you present yourself. And those are the characters, my brothers, regardless of what people can say. But each one of us, I am fully convinced that each one of you living in the Thorncliffe neighborhood, all your neighbors should be convinced that what I hear in the media can be something different. But the Muslim who is my neighbor, what he is totally different. I know who my Muslim neighbor is, and I will never ever be able to, let my Muslim neighbor go. Anyways, many stories come to my mind, but let's just go to this topic here. So Aisha radiallahu anha said, in one narration, Aisha radiallahu anha says that, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his characters were what? Nothing but the whole Quran. خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Now let's just go into some practical characters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is mentioned, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how would you be able to judge someone? Any idea? When you stay with someone, you can judge a person. Just by you meeting me here, you won't be able to tell who I am. But if you stay with me, if you live with me, if you travel with me, then you will be able to tell that, okay, this Ibrahim is a good person or a bad person. But just on the face of it, because I'm speaking here, it doesn't really mean anything. If you have some kind of dealings with the person, that will determine whether this person is good or not. So let's talk about one person, Anas radiallahu anhu. Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. He was, his mother says that when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Medina Munawwara, they were presenting all kinds of gifts to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But she had nothing to give and offer to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what she did was, O Prophet of Allah, can you accept my child? He will help you and he will look after your day-to-day chores and errands. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted him. And how old was he? Any idea? 8 years old. How old was he? 8 years old. And how long did he stay in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Approximately 10 years. He stayed with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now we're looking at a young child who's not even mature yet, and he's in the company of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he says, so he was a khadim of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, I used to walk with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever I did his khidmat, whether I was in journey or I was, not traveling, Wallahi ma qala li shay'un sana'tuhu lima sana'ta hada wa hakadha. Anything that I did, he never said, why did you do this? I'm a little child. He's a child. He did it. He brought water. Someone brings the water in a normal glass. Someone brings in a bowl. Okay, he brought it as a child. But he never said, lima sana'ta hada. Why did you do this? Wala li shay'in lima asna'hu lima. He would never say, why? Why? The first thing, why did you do this? You shouldn't have done that. He was so compassionate towards his, towards the children. He would never do this. Anas radiallahu anhu further says in another narration, min ahsan an-nasi khuluqan fa arsalani yawman. He sent me one day to, to buy something. Li hajatin. فَقُلْتُ وَاللَّهِ لَا أَذْهَبُ. Young child, Anas is a young child. What is he saying to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I'm not going to go. Sometimes, youngsters, they become rude, and I'm not going to go. So he's saying that who? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in his heart, he knew he was going to go. But he just wanted to, be a little more humorous with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَفِي نَفْسِي أَنَا أَذْهَبُ. In his heart, he said, I was going to go. But he said, I was not going to go. So فَخَرَجْتُ. So I went. حَتَّى أَمُرَّ عَلَى الصِّبْيَانِ. And I saw young children, sometimes you're going to what? Petro-Canada, and on the way, just here by Tim Hortons, you find a bunch of youngsters. Ramadan youngsters play. I don't think they'll be able to play because there's fences now, isn't it? So anyways, they play. So he found a whole bunch of youngsters playing. So he goes, oh, let me play with these youngsters. Now keep in mind that he's been told, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told him to do something, and yet where did he go? First of all, he said, I'm not going to do. Secondly, he goes, okay, and now he starts playing with the youngsters. Just then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passes by. Anas? فَإِذَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ قَدْ قَبَضَ. He hold it from here. He tapped him right from the back. Tap, tap. Anas, where are you? فَنَظَرْتُ إِلَيْهِ وَهُوَ يَضْحَكُ. He started laughing. Nothing else. Nothing else. No shouting, nothing. All he did was, what happened? He didn't even say, Ya Unais, أَذَهَبْتَ حَيْثُ أَمَرْتُكَ? Did you go where I told you to go? Nothing else. Why? What are you doing with the kids? I'm waiting for you. You still didn't get this for me. Nothing like that. قال قلت نعم أنا أذهب يا رسول الله. No, I'm going to go now. He's a young child. What is he saying? No, I'm going to go now. Now look at this here. Look how compassionate he was. He knew how to deal with every individual human being. قال أنس والله. Now Anas radiallahu anhu remembers that time, and he says, Wallahi laqad khadimtuhu tis'a sinin. In this narration, I was in the service, I was in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 9 odd years. ما علمته قال لشيء صنعته لما فعلت كذا وكذا. I stayed for 9 years. Not one day did he say that, oh Anas, why did you do this? And my brothers, I'm sure you know that the young ones now today, we're so rebellious that we don't want to do anything. Even if you're old, even if you're 15 years old, you don't want to do anything for your father. But when you're a young child, you'll make thousands of mistakes. I don't know if you know or not, but your son will make thousands of mistakes. You tell him to get soap and he'll buy something different. You tell him to buy, milk and he'll end up buying chocolate milk. You wanted tea for your house. So you say, Ibrahim or Musa, go get some milk for me. So he goes and he looks and he likes chocolate milk. So you thought, oh, milk? And he brings chocolate milk home. That's how youngsters are, right? So just imagine you wanted tea so badly. You're a desperate person. You can't sleep without tea. And Abdullah, your son, comes and walks home with chocolate milk. What are you going to do? But that's how, Anas radiallahu anhu, regardless, but Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never said, lima sana'ta, lima sana'ta. This is what we learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Further, he mentions, in one narration it is mentioned that he stayed for 10 years, but he didn't say anything. فَمَا أَمَرَنِي بِأَمْرٍ. He said many times I would do something, but I would not do it perfect. There would be problems in it. But he would have never criticized me. He would not criticize me at all. وَلَا وَإِنْ لَامَنِي أَحَدٌ مِنْ أَهْلِهِ. So much so that because I was a young child, I would make mistakes and I would do stupid things. But Prophet ﷺ never rebuked me. Others would. So Prophet ﷺ said, Ta'uhu, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Don't worry. You bought chocolate milk instead of milk? Yeah, no problem. We'll have chocolate milk for today. But no problem. Leave him alone. Ta'uhu. فَلَوْ قُدِّرَ وَقَالَ قُضِيَ أَن يَكُونَ كَانَ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa Anas radiallahu anhu mentioned in the narration. He says, فَمَا سَبَّنِي. I stayed for 10 years. Not one day did he swear at me. Sometimes, you may not use the word S-H-I-T or something like that, but you may say, some other words besides that, right? But, any kind of word, no words came out from him. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَلَا ضَرَبَنِي ضَرْبَةً. He never touched me. He never hit me. وَلَا انْتَهَرَنِي وَلَا عَبَسَ فِي وَجْهِ. He did not even frown away from me. He did not even frown away from me. And my brothers, you can imagine being a young child, how many mistakes he would make. No problem at all. And then he mentions, if someone, in عَاتَبَنِي عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ. If someone used to tell me something, and the Prophet ﷺ would defend me. And he would speak on behalf of him. He said, no, leave him alone. He's a young child, leave him alone. That was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyways, a lot could be said about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but this is exactly what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. Just mentioning some other characters as far as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is concerned. One day, Aisha radiallahu anha and Hafsa radiallahu anha, they were both the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just look at his characters. We're talking about his characters with children. Now let's talk about characters with the wives. Nowadays, if you look at husband and a wife, subhanallah, right? When you go to your boss, you become a little cat. But that same guy, when he goes back to his house, he's not a cat anymore. He's a big lion. He's a tiger. He runs a show, right? So that's how the nature of a man is. So, anyways, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at one occasion, Aisha radiallahu anha prepared something, and Hafsa also prepared something. So Aisha radiallahu anha was cooking, and all of a sudden, Hafsa comes, and she presents the food to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha was angry. I mean, these are human things. Sahaba radiallahu majma'in were human beings just like us. They were not anything, they're not like, something different from us. They were just like us. They were human beings. They had those human instincts in them. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she told her neighbor that, look, I didn't like that. Why didn't you get that, plate and break it up? Full of food. So Aisha radiallahu anha, so that neighbor went, and Hafsa's presenting, and she grabs it and breaks into pieces. Now, just to imagine that. Now imagine that. Now I ask that lion in the house, who becomes a cat when he's in his workplace. Now when he's at home, and he's got that, right? And imagine, your awe, your anger in front of your wife. Now imagine Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did he do? Absolutely nothing. He knew that it was Aisha who told this, maid slave to do this. But despite that, he didn't do anything. All he did was, he went onto the ground, he picked up everything. He cleaned everything up. He picked up the pieces. And then, when everything was calmed, the plate that Aisha sent, now that plate was given back to who? Hafsa. Because Aisha is the one who broke the plate of who? Hafsa. Look at these characters. This was the character of who? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at kana lakum fi rasulillahi uswatun hasana. There's such a great role model in the lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how he was with every single person, and he gave full attention to. When narration, I lost a page somewhere. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he spoke to someone, asgha ilayhi, he would give full attention to. Many times, you're talking to someone, your mind is there. You're looking there. You're looking there. You're looking at 10 different places. Your mind is not even focused on the person who's speaking to you. You can't even speak to him properly. You're speaking to the person, you've got a cell phone on you now. Now it is your cell phone. You give more attention to the person who's, sometimes I'm thinking to myself that, the amount of, time you give to cell phone, you've got a person in person who's talking to you, but I think you are able to give more time to the person who's away from you, but just because he gives you a call. So maybe, a time will come, two guys, maybe husband and wife. Wife cannot get enough time from husband. Now she's in the room, she's not getting enough time. So what is she going to do? She's going to have a cell phone. So from the next room, she'll be calling. I'm calling you. You don't have, because he doesn't get time, because he's always giving time to the phone. So maybe the wife is going to start calling and giving time to the, asking time to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He never turned away anyone. When anyone gave him his hand, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the first one to extend his hand, and then he would not withdraw his hand until they had withdrew their hand. This was the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We can mention so much about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now let's just go on to, because topic of discussion of the characters of Sahaba radiallahu majma'in. The time is obviously going through very quickly. Umar radiallahu anhu. This is the story. When I heard this story, subhanallah, it's an amazing story. There was a plate. There was one. There was a plate that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given to Prophet Umar radiallahu anhu. And so Umar radiallahu anhu used to respect this plate because it was a blessed plate. It was a plate which Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ate in, and it was also given, by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So every single فَكَانَ عُمَرُ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ يَقُولُ أَخْرِجُوهَا إِلَيَّ. Take this plate out from all the plates. Take this plate out for me. فَنَمْلَأُهَا مِنْ مَاءِ زَمْزَمْ. We used to fill this, this plate with water of Zamzam, and he used to drink it. فَنَأْتِي بِهَا فَيَشْرَبُ مِنْهَا وَيَصُبُّ عَلَى رَأْسِهِ وَوَجْهِهِ. And he would pour, so he would use that bowl or plate, and with that bowl, he would pour, he would drink it, he would pour the water over his face and everywhere, because he was take the barakah from that plate and the Zamzam water. One day, إِنَّ سَارِقًا عَدَى عَلَيْنَا فَسَرَقَهَا مَعَ مَتَاعٍ لَنَا. Unfortunate case. A thief comes one day, a robber comes, and he takes all the goods. And along with the goods, he takes a plate or that bowl. So when he takes a bowl, Hadr Umar radiallahu anhu, he comes, فَسَأَلَنَا أَن نُخْرِجَهَا. Like his normal routine, he goes, I need that bowl, bring that glass, I want that, and brings him some water for me. فَقُلْنَا يَا أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ سُرِقَتْ فِي مَتَاعِنَا. All our stuff is gone. And along with the stuff that is gone, what happened? We also lost that bowl. That bowl is gone. So what did Umar radiallahu anhu said? فَوَاللَّهِ مَا سَبَّهُ وَلَا لَعَنَهُ. What would we do if that person was to steal? That. What are you going to say? Obviously, we're in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we shouldn't be saying that. But you would say that, may Allah curse him, may this, may his mother be this, may that. You would say so many different things. He took this away from me? What a loser he is. You would say at least a loser. Right? But Umar radiallahu anhu didn't say anything. In fact, you know what he said? He said that thief was a very smart thief. He knew exactly what to steal. He was not a dumb thief. He knew exactly what to steal, and he stole the right thing. Because that was a blessed plate. This was the character of Umar radiallahu anhu. You know, obviously this is a Sahih Bukhari story. I'll just repeat it again. Uyayna ibn Hisn and Aqra ibn Habis radiallahu anhu. Now, it is mentioned, the Hur ibn Qais, not Aqra ibn Habis, Hur ibn Qais. Hur ibn Qais was a young Sahabi, young companion, but he knew the Quran very well. So, in the council of Umar radiallahu anhu, only those people will stay in his company who were learned, who had the knowledge of Quran. So Hur bin Qais was one of them. Even though he was young, but he was part of the council of Umar radiallahu anhu. So Uyayna ibn Hisn, who was the uncle of Hur bin Qais, he comes and he says, hey, I want, you're so close to Umar, I want to, come and talk to him one day. Can you allow me? So Hur bin Qais said, yeah, come uncle, you can come. So he spoke to Umar radiallahu anhu, he gave him the opportunity. He comes. So when he came, Uyayna ibn Hisn comes. Immediately when he comes, he says, لا تحكم بيننا بالعدل. And he says, ما تعطينا الجزلة. You don't give us anything. Umar, you don't. No salam, no kalam, no polite words, no introduction to the speech, nothing. ما تعطينا الجزلة. Umar, you don't give us anything. That's the first complaint. The second complaint is what? You're not fair. You're not fair with us. Imagine when you say that, that provokes you so much. And Umar radiallahu anhu, obviously, he had that, awe and that ru'ab. So he said, فَغَضِبَ Umar. Umar became angry. Anyone will become angry when someone tells you that. Anyone will become angry. I remember just the other day, I was walking, now I'm just thinking to myself, subhanAllah, I do bayan, and it's mentioned of Sahaba. But one day, I remember I was making a U-turn. Not U-turn, a 3-point turn. And then one person comes, and I'm trying to just, get into the lane, and he comes on the other side, I'm not going to move. And he gets so frustrated at that time. You're like, okay, just move a little bit so I can move through. And I'm in my lane, but no, because as I was moving and I was going back, he had already put his car on my lane. So I couldn't pass through him because I'm not going to move. I'm like, so that frustrates you. The heat is out there and it frustrates you so much. And that's the moment you get so frustrated. But imagine, we just can't control anything. But Umar radiallahu anhu, at this moment here, subhanallah, he was so angry and frustrated. He said, let me just put this person down here. And I granted him permission that he can come to me and he can speak to me. And this is what he's telling me. So immediately, Hur bin Qais, who had the knowledge of Quran, he said, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, Inna Allah Ta'ala qala li nabiyyihi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what did he say? Khudil afwa. Forgive people. Wa'mur bil urfi. And you enjoin people to do good. Wa'arid anil jahilin. And if you have ignorant people confronting you, ignore them. The moment these ayats were revealed, were recited before Umar radiallahu anhu, kana waqafan. And Hur bin Qais said, my uncle is from Jahilin. He's those ignorant people. Just leave him. Don't say anything. Kana waqafan. He immediately melted before Quran. It is mentioned of another Sahabi. It is mentioned that if someone wanted, people feared that Umar radiallahu anhu, his anger was very high and immense. So if someone wanted to cool the anger of Umar radiallahu anhu down, what did they do? They said, all you have to do is recite Quran. Recite Quran, and the anger will immediately, repress and go down. This was Umar radiallahu anhu. Subhanallah. Imagine us, when we recite Quran, what happens? We're probably, if you have if we're angry and frustrated and we have the Shaykh Sudais being played, we'll shut that down and we'll carry on. But nothing will melt us. But Sahaba radiallahu majma'een, this was their characters. Nevertheless, there's a lot that I wanted to mention a lot more, but obviously the time does not allow me. But concluding with few more, statements that I came across, and subhanAllah, I was really touched with this here, that akhlaq of Sahaba radiallahu majma'een. Along with that, some few Salaf al-Salihin I wanted to mention. Once, Uwais Qarni. I wish we can be inspired with a few stories of this here. Uwais Qarni. It is mentioned, إِذَا رَمَاهُ السُّبْيَانِ بِالْحِجَارَةِ يَقُولُ. Just imagine you're walking or you're playing in a park and you've got some rude youngsters and they're throwing pebbles at you, or calling you a packy, or calling you something rude, or saying something like that. What would you do to them? What would you do? Nowadays, people may say some words to you, but no one's going to physically harm you. But anyways, Uwais Qarni, I'm sure you have heard of Uwais Qarni? Inshallah. Obviously, there's a lot that we can talk about him. We don't have time to. إِذَا رَمَاهُ الصِّبْيَانِ. When children used to throw something at him, بِالْحِجَارَةِ يَقُولُ يَا إِخْوَةَ. What did he used to say? He used to say, And all this that I'm mentioning is from which kitab? Minhajul Qasidin. Ibn Qudam al-Maqdisi, his kitab Minhajul Qasidin is from that kitab. So he says, Ya ikhwata, in kana la buddha, if you really want to throw pebbles at me, then just be soft. Farmuni bis-sigar, throw the small ones, not those big ones. Why? لِأَلَّا تَدْمُوا سَاقِي. So you don't make my, my sock, my calf, my foot, my legs start, don't make it bleed too much. Why? Because if you do that, then I won't be able to pray salat. Subhanallah. You didn't even, it's like if you really want to, and you're getting pleasure out of that, okay, but do it, but don't do it so hard that I can't even pray salat. At least, let me be able to pray salat. Because he was more concerned about salat. Like, can you imagine this in today's perspective? Someone just touches your accent. Was it you? Immediately, like, sorry. Just imagine you're shopping, right? And you're shopping, and all of a sudden, sometimes it happens, right? You're shopping, and the shopping cart, or this happens in haram a lot. Sometimes we're haram, and then wheelchair, and the guy from the back, and he's too fast, and he hits you. It hurts you. Imagine. I don't know if you've been for Hajj or not, but those brothers that have been for Hajj, or if you haven't been for Hajj, let me tell you, when you go shopping, no frills, and the guy comes around from the back, and boom, right behind you. And now, ouch, you get that ouch. You're angry. Sorry. But you're still frustrated. So what are you going to say? Couldn't you look? This especially in haram, it happens a lot. People, obviously, it's their fault too that, they're going so fast. But again, if they accidentally hit you, you're not going to take revenge at them. Okay, have fun. Forgive me, for the sake of Allah will forgive you. It is mentioned of Ibrahim al-Adham rahmatullahi alayhi. Subhanallah. He said one day, a jundi, a policeman or someone came to him, and he's asking for Imran. He was asking for, an area which is populated. So Ibrahim al-Adham rahmatullahi alayhi, he was a very pious person, and he was completely out of this world. So he didn't even know what was a locality and what was a barren land and what was a graveyard. Everything was same to him. So when he went, so he gave him wrong direction. So instead of going to Thorncliffe, he's telling him to go somewhere else. So that's what Ibrahim al-Adham rahmatullahi alayhi did. So when he went there, he found it's a maqbara. It's a graveyard. So now this guy comes back and he said, what's wrong with this old fella here? So he gets so frustrated and he starts beating him. فَشَجَّهُ. Shajja means he wounded him on the head. That's how he beat him. This jundi here, this policeman here, he beat him so much that he actually wounded him. And he was bleeding from his head. فَلَمَّا أَخْبَرَ أَنَّهُ Ibrahim. But then, policeman asked him and said, who are you? First he beat him. You should have asked him first. But anyways, so he's saying that, okay, after beating him, now he's saying that, I am Ibrahim al-Adham. So now everyone had heard of Ibrahim al-Adham. So جَعَلَ يُقَبِّلُ يَدَهُ وَرِجْلَهُ. He's kissing him all over now. Sorry. He's kissing him all over. But I made a mistake here. Sorry, man, please. But the blood is coming out. Now you already caused so much damage. يُقَبِّلُ يَدَهُ وَرِجْلَهُ فَقَالَ إِنَّهُ لَمَّا ضَرَبَ رَأْسِي. But this is what I want to mention to you, my brothers. He said, إِنَّهُ لَمَّا ضَرَبَ رَأْسِي سَأَلْتُ اللَّهَ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. Allahu Akbar. When I was reading this, it touched my heart so much, wallahi. He said, when you were hitting me, this jundi, when he was eating me and my head was bleeding, I was asking Jannat for you. I was asking Jannat for you. إِنَّمَا لَمَّا ضَرَبَ رَأْسِي. When you hit my head, سَأَلْتُ اللَّهَ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. I'm asking Jannat for him. لِأَنِّي عَلِمْتُ. Why? He said, because I knew أَنِّي أُوجَرُ بِضَرْبِهِ إِيَّايَ. I knew that Allah will reward me because you're hitting me and I persevere, and the patience that I endure, I know Allah will definitely reward me. So I'm already getting my Jannat. But what about your Jannat? فَلَمْ أُحِبْ. So I did not like أَن يَكُونَ نَصِيبِي مِنْهُ. Subhanallah, look at this part here. Allahu Akbar, only if you can remember this today's lesson. فَلَمْ أُحِبْ. I did not like that through you I get my Jannat, and through me you get evil and wrong. Meaning you get sin. I did not like, what is he saying, Ibrahim al-Adham rahmatullahi alayhi? That through you, because you hit me, I get my Jannat. But you through me, meaning by hitting me, you get sin and you get Jahannam. I didn't like that. Therefore, I was asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He also gives you Jannah. This was the characters, my brothers. I don't know what kind of characters we can have. Next time when someone bumps you or someone hits you or something like that, remember this and see what happens. It's very easy for you to remember this today and listen to it. But my brothers, when there was someone wheelchair or someone comes from behind and hits you or something, and then tell me, what did you do? Right? Especially if you were bleeding. Anyways, it is mentioned about another person, just obviously there's so much that I can mention here, that shatama rajulun. Once a person, said bad things to Abbas radiallahu anhu, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. فَلَمَّا قَضَى, when Abbas radiallahu anhu, when he fulfilled his need, so that one person from back, he was screaming, shouting and saying bad things, whatnot. So he says, قَالَ يَا إِكْرَمَةً. So he told Ikramah, oh Ikramah, call that person, who's that person? Call that person. Who's that person? هَلْ لِلرُّجُلِ حَاجَةٌ. Does he have some need? فَنَقْضِيهَا فَنَكَسَ الرَّجُلُ رَأْسَهُ وَاسْتَحَى. When Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma said that, Ikramah, look for that person. What does he want? Does he need money? Does he need something? So when Ikramah went to him, that person became so embarrassed that I'm shouting, screaming, and swearing at Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. But look how Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu is dealing with me. My brothers, these are the characters that we need. We need to cleanse our garden. We need to purify our garden and make our gardens like the Sahaba radiallahu majma'een. And then we will see the reward. There's another story. There's so much that I can mention here, but the time does not allow me. It is mentioned here, وَأَسْمَعَ رَجُلٌ مُعَاوِيَةَ كَلَامًا شَدِيدًا فَقِيلَ لَهُ لَوْ عَاقَبْتَهُ فَقَالَ إِنِّي لَأَسْتَحْيَا أَنْ يُضِيقَ حِلْمِي عَنْ ذَنْبِ أَحَدٍ مِنْ رَعِيَّتِي. Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he had so much tolerance. He said that, once a man said so much bad things to Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. So a person said, why didn't you take him to task? So what did Muawiyah radiallahu anhu said? He said, I am embarrassed and feel shy that I make my forbearance narrow due to the sin of one of my civilian and the people that are under me. This was Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. It is mentioned that one day, Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he sent things, to one of the place. فَبَعَثَ مِنْهَا إِلَى شَيْخ. So he also, in Damascus, he sent something to one of the Shaykh in Damascus. So he didn't like it. So فَجَعَلَ عَلَيْهِ يَمِينًا أَنْ يَضْرِبَ رَأْسَ مُعَاوِيَةَ. Now look at this part. He took qasam. So Muawiyah, he sent a gift to the Shaykh in Damascus, but that person didn't appreciate. So he took a qasam that I will hit and break the head, and I will hit the head of who? Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. He took this qasam. So he comes. فَأَتَى مُعَاوِيَةَ. And he comes to Muawiyah and he says, I've taken a qasam like this. And in order to fulfill my qasam, I have to hit you. So Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, فَقَالَ لَهُ مُعَاوِيَةَ أُوفِي بِنَظْرِكَ. Fulfill your nadhr. Go hit me. But don't be too hard. But hit me. But this was Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Look how his forbearance and how tolerant he was. My brothers, I just don't have time right now. We can go on and on. But this is exactly how there's one more story here. Subhanallah, last story. It is mentioned about Ali ibn Hussein radiallahu anhu. Ali ibn Hussein radiallahu anhu, a person came to him. Now my brothers, why am I mentioning this? This happens to us too. But how do we respond to the person? If someone came and swore at Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhu so much, to such an extent, فَثَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ الْعَبِيدِ. People, his slaves, the slaves of Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhu, they became so frustrated and they became infurious. And they were about to blow in and take action against this person here. ثُمَّ أَقْبَلَ عَلَى الرَّجُلِ. So Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhu, he turned towards that person. And guess what he said to him? That person was criticizing, he was saying all the negative things to Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhu. So Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhu turns to him, and this is what he says to him. مَا سَتَرَ عَنْكَ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا أَكْثَرُ. What you can see is very little from the negative things. But what you cannot see is far more than that. You may be criticizing me for the little things that you see, but there are many things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has concealed. So you can go on saying whatever you want, and I'm deserving of all that. And then he says, أَلَكَ حَاجَةٌ نُعِينُكَ عَلَيْهَا. Do you have any need that we can fulfill? You can carry on swearing, but if you have any need, I can fulfill? So then فَاسْتَحْيَا, that person became so embarrassed. He said, فَأَلْقَى عَلَيْهِ خَمِيص. Immediately he was given, a garment. He put the garment on him. And then at the same time, and then وَأَمَرَ لَهُ بِأَلْفِ دِرْهَمٍ. And then he said, and he gave him 1,000 dirham immediately. فَكَانَ الرَّجُلُ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ يَقُولُ أَشْهَدُ أَنَّكَ مِنْ أَوْلَادِ رَسُولِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. I bear witness that you are from the children of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My brothers, these were just few stories, and I skipped many stories here, but just to give you an idea what noble characters are. I go back to my statement that I made in the beginning of the talk, and that is, my brothers, think of your garden today. It's not even the backyard, it's in the front yard. It's full of weeds. And what are the weeds? Malice, jealousy, hate, enmity, animosity, the love of dunya, the love of wealth, the love of high status, pride. All these are thorny, thorny, thorny weeds. If you try touching them, you'll be pricked with thorns. My brothers, we need to get rid of all that. And then we adorn ourselves with the beautiful characters and put the garment of beautiful characters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sahaba radiallahu majma'een. And then we will see that same garden, just like today, when we get the landscapers to put that beautiful garden and flowers. The other day I was passing by, and subhanAllah, you get some flowers, they only at night, I don't know what you call them, but only at night they give out that fragrance. And it was so pleasant, My brothers, the day when you adorn your garment, the day you adorn your garden and you beautify with beautiful characters, if even a passerby, you don't need to put those artificial ether onto your body, the natural fragrance will come out from your heart, and people will say, I just smell someone so nice. Who is this person? When you speak, the fragrance will come out. When you do any kind of dealings, the fragrance will come out. You don't need to put all the spray and all those, what do you put that on? All those cologne and all that on. Natural smell will come up from your heart. So what do? Inshallah, we will work on this garden here, and how we can do this. Month of Ramadan is coming up. Inshallah, we will talk about how to prepare for month of Ramadan next week. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding. Allahumma lakal hamdu kulluhu wa lakal shukru kulluhu wa ilayka yarjun amru kulluhu. اللهم لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. Wallah, pardon our sins. Wallah, forgive our sins. Wallah, indeed we are weak. Ya Allah, we were discussing about the noble characters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Allah, we concede and we admit, Ya Allah, our garden, Ya Allah, of our heart is full of thorns, Ya Allah, and weeds. Ya Allah, it is so despicable. Ya Allah, we cannot even look at it. It is so filthy. Ya Allah, if a person was to look into it, Ya Allah, he will turn away. He will run away from, Ya Allah, the garden that we have. Ya Allah, we beg you. The month of Ramadan is coming. Ya Allah, this blessed rain, let it change and take out all those weeds, thorny weeds, Ya Allah, filthy weeds which people cannot even look at. Oh Allah, get rid of each one of them. Ya Allah, uproot them in such a way that they don't come back again. Ya Allah, and replace them. Just how Sahaba radiallahu majma'een, through the companionship of Rasulullah sallallahu